The Gunslinger is a wrench option for the engineer, and is absolutely fucking notorious for being cancerous to fight when it came out. This is due in no small part to a certain personality popularizing the hate for it, but it's really not that bad. Seriously, while the sentries it builds may be spammable and cheap, they changed the Houston repairman's entire playstyle from a heavily defense-oriented playstyle to a very independent black woman who don't need no level 3 sentry. I'm going to go over the stats of the Gunslinger, as well as the stats of the mini sentry, and how exactly they change the engineer's playstyle, as well as how to effectively use the two. The first stat that you'll notice about Fisto here is that it adds an extra 25 health to the engineer, making him on par with the medic and an islander Demoknight who isn't using the booties for some bizarre reason. This extra 25 health, while it may not sound like a lot, will do absolute wonders for the playstyle that the Gunslinger is geared towards. The next stat is that it has a 150% increased sentry build time when it is not wrench boosted, meaning the build time is 4.2 seconds if left alone, and 2.6 seconds if it is being boosted by any wrench that isn't the Eureka effect or the jack. The third stat is that the third consecutive punch is always a crit, and the attack button cannot be released, or this combo will reset. The fourth stat is that it gets no random crits, which are not a big deal, since you won't be as big of a target for spies as you normally would be. And the fifth stat is that it replaces a regular sentry with a combat mini sentry. The mini sentry has its own set of stats, and I'm now going to go over them, and also compare them to a level 1 sentry, which is basically what the mini sentry is, but the stats are halved in both good and bad ways. First, the mini sentry only costs 100 metal to build, but as a consequence it cannot be upgraded, in comparison to the level 1 which takes 130 metal to build, and can also be upgraded to a level 2 and level 3. Second, the mini sentry shots do 8 damage per hit, and it fires at a rate of 6 shots per second, or 12 shots per second with the Wrangler in use. This comes to an average 48 DPS, or 96 with the Wrangler. Compare this to the level 1 which shoots for 16 damage bullets per second, or 8 16 damage bullets per second with the Wrangler. This comes to an average of 64 damage per second without the Wrangler, and 128 DPS with the Wrangler. The mini sentry also has 100 health total, and 300 with the Wrangler shield, in comparison to the level 1 sentry gun which has 150 health, and 450 with the Wrangler shield. The mini sentry also has a significantly reduced size in comparison to the level 1 sentry gun, making it very easy to hide the mini inside of a bush. Now that you know the stats of both the Gunslinger and the mini sentry it lets you build, how much do they change the engineer's playstyle, and how do you use them? First, the Gunslinger is not your typical engineer wrench. It changes engineer's playstyle from basically relying on his sentry to support his team, to relegating his sentry to a short-term area denial weapon, so he can leave the sentry alone for a bit, to focus on his other buildings. This actually changes the Texas construction workers' building priority from the sentry being at the very top of the priority list, with the dispenser, teleporter exit, and teleporter entrance following it in that order of priority, to move the sentry to the very bottom of the list, bumping the other buildings higher in priority. For normal engineers, a sentry has to be at the top of the list, because it will typically be the target of most incoming damage, and will need repairs the most out of any of the buildings, and if that sentry is taken down that leaves a huge hole in your defenses. A mini sentry going down, however, is not as big of an issue as a leveled sentry going down, as another one can be placed instead, and it won't need any additional work to be useful to your team. This change in playstyle makes the Gunslinger absolutely perfect for an engineer playing on offense, as he does not need to commit to building a level 3 and keeping it alive, and can instead focus on building the teleporters and dispenser for his team. However, this change of playstyle is less than ideal for defensive engineers, as the penalties to the sentry make it a very weak choice for defense in comparison to a level 3 and an engineer running around with 25 extra health. A shotgun and a pistol on defense isn't going to do as much to defend an area as a level 3 server-side aimbot will. Also, I should have mentioned this in the buff banner video, but as long as you're in the area of effect for the buff banner, your sentry will do mini crits, so keep that in mind if you are making a push. I've talked a lot about how the gunslinger makes the engineer more independent from his sentry, but that independence does jack shit if the engineer is using the wrong weapons. There are multiple primaries that work with the gunslinger. First, the stock shotgun. I personally use the stock shotgun because of just how reliable and effective it is, and since it's a stock weapon it has no downsides, but it also has no upsides. The next choice is the Frontier Justice, which was designed to be used with the gunslinger. The Frontier Justice gains 2 revenge crits for every kill on a sentry, and 1 revenge crit for every assist once a sentry is destroyed, and stores up to 32 revenge crits, but as a downside has 3 less shots and your revenge crits are lost on death. I personally don't use the Frontier Justice anymore, but the idea is to put your mini sentry in some corner of a high traffic area, get a few kills and assists with it, and then blow it up for some revenge crits to wipe the floor with people. Your next choice is the Widowmaker, which gains an extra 10% damage to the same target as your sentry gun, doesn't need to reload, and also has a metal return mechanic that rewards good aim and punishes you for bad aim by making you lose metal every missed shot. Again, I personally do not use the Widowmaker, and the 10% increased damage against your sentry's target kinda contradicts the independent engineer playstyle the gunslinger goes for, since you need to be close to your sentry, but if you are good at shotgun aim the Widowmaker is a very good choice. Another choice is the Thompson 6000, which was actually hit by the Righteous Bison projectile nerf back in 2016, and has not been fixed since then. But if you are looking to piss everyone on the server off while using the gunslinger, look no further than the Thompson, because it reduces medic uber charge by up to 10% per hit, and spy cloak by up to 20%. Since the Thompson shoots a projectile, you need to work on your timing with it, or you're just gonna look like an idiot. However, it's good for shitting up a pro soldier main and his crit squeak medic girlfriend or that cancerous charmer's chapo spy that every server seems to have. Another option is the panic attack, which was changed in Jungle Inferno to have a fixed spread that gets wider every shot, and also to have 5 more bullets, but it deals significantly less damage. In other words, the panic attack still sucks, and is still outshined by every other option. The worst possible choice for the gunslinger is the Rescue Ranger, which is tooled much more towards a defensive playstyle, and leveled sentry guns, not an offensive mini sentry playstyle. A regular shotgun would serve you better with the gunslinger than the Rescue Ranger would. That covers the primaries, but for secondaries you literally only have 3 choices. The first secondary option is a pistol, and is the strongest out of the 3 to work with the gunslinger, since it serves as a backup weapon when you are out of ammo for your primary. If you are using the Widowmaker, you should only be using the pistol as a secondary. People seem to really underestimate how powerful the pistol actually is, especially as a finisher, and since it's a stock weapon it has no downsides or upsides. The next option is the Wrangler, which is probably the worst choice of the 3, since you need to be near your sentry to be able to actually use it against people, and that defeats the playstyle of the gunslinger, which is to be more independent of your sentry. Your third choice is the Short Circuit, which you use as a sort of sticky trap remover or anti-soldier boyfriend utility. Again, this one is also oriented towards defense and leveled sentries, but the Short Circuit can be used offensively, primarily to use for clearing an objective of projectile spam. However, it's a pretty bad choice to use with the Widowmaker, since both use metal to work. If you want to piss off more people than just scouts, pyros, medics, and spies, you can also equip this with the Thompson, so that you can add demos and soldiers to that list. This list of weapons is just what I personally use with the gunslinger and my opinions, so you're free to do whatever the fuck you want with it. This is the correct way to use the gunslinger. Now go out there and annoy everybody to death with your tiny baby gun.